If you watch my paper 1 predictions video, then you'll know that quite a lot of the predictions I made actually came up on the exam, including the 2 9 markers. So listen up closely as I give you my predictions for GCSE Geography Paper 2. Before I start though, just a reminder that although I have spent a long time going through past paper questions, looking for patterns, looking for, what hasn't come up for a long time, these are just predictions. They're not guarantees. I do advise you to revise everything, but it's probably worth taking a closer look at the things I'm about to tell you, because they are perhaps slightly more likely to come up in the exam this week. Right then, so in section A, urban issues and challenges, I've got kind of 3 or so areas in terms of predictions then. So there is normally a question about the NEE or LIC city case study. And I know most schools do Lagos in Nigeria, or Mumbai in India, or Rio in Brazil. So whatever your case study is, it's likely there'll be a question in there on that. I think what's a little bit more likely this year is probably something to do with opportunities created by the growth of that city. So opportunities, mainly things like economic opportunities, like jobs, better healthcare, education, access to water and electricity, that sort of thing. So I'd be trying to remember a few case study facts. For example, in Lagos, there's 10 universities and 26 hospitals. So lots of healthcare and educational opportunities there. Another question you could get asked about that case study is the causes of growth. So why has it grown so rapidly? And actually for any case study you do, it's really the same reasons. It's rapid rural to urban migration because of push and pull factors, and also natural increase. I guess if you have anything else a bit more specific there, like for example, knowing Lagos is growing by 3,000 people per day, then even better for that one. And remember that cities in LICs and NEEs tend to have a lot of natural increase because cities have got a young population, because the main people who move there are moving there for work, and they happen to be the age that people tend to have children. There's also better healthcare in cities, so death rates are lower as well. So there's a lot of natural increase in actually any LIC or NEE city really. Second prediction is relating to just patterns of urbanisation. There's not really been a question very recently on patterns of urbanisation, and remembering that LICs are the ones where cities are growing the fastest because of rural to urban migration, and HIC countries, they're the ones where cities are actually not growing very quickly, because at the moment most people already live in cities in HICs. They've urbanised previously in the past, so the growth rate is much slower. My last prediction for this topic is to do with a UK city case study. I'd be surprised if there wasn't a question in some way about your UK city example. And I think the one that's not been asked a lot about recently is challenges. And if I was going to punt on a really specific one, it'd maybe be challenges in terms of urban sprawl. So the outward growth of urban areas as the city expands into the countryside. And I think I'm leaning towards that because map skills didn't come up on paper 1, and there's no map in the pre-release booklet for paper 3 either. So I think some sort of grid reference map skills question is likely, and that could come up in the context of a UK city, maybe even a map of an urban area where it meets the countryside, linking to urban sprawl. So in section B, changing economic world, again, I've got kind of 3 predictions for you. Prediction number 1 is a question to do with strategies to reduce the development gap. This could be a 9-mark question, talking about lots of different strategies, or you might get a more specific one, talking about 1 or 2 strategies identified in the question. And the strategies that haven't really come up a lot recently are fair trade, so giving farmers a fair price for their products, resulting in better living conditions for those people. Microfinance loans, so small loans allowing people to set up a business. They can eventually pay the loan back, and it leads to the multiplier effect. Also intermediate technology, so technology that's quite simple, easy to use, suited to the local population. The other one is tourism, and you should have a little mini case study of tourism in a named country, so Kenya or Jamaica perhaps, and knowing a bit about how tourism has helped that country develop. Prediction number 2 for this topic is to do the demographic transition model. I've only really seen one question on that in the last 5 years. So remembering the demographic transition model, that's the one with birth rate, death rate, total population, 5 stages. Remembering that it's showing how a country develops over time, going from stage 1, eventually maybe to stage 5. But also if you look at the world today, you could maybe say a tribe in the Amazon might be in stage 1. Afghanistan maybe could be in stage 2 or 3. Probably China or India in stage 3. The UK in stage 4, and maybe Japan or Germany, where actually they've got an ageing and a falling population in stage 5. Finally, for this section, I think there's bound to be a question about the NEE and LIC country case study. So most popular ones seem to be Nigeria, India or Brazil. And I think that there's a few small areas that haven't been asked a lot recently. And I think those two could be a question about international importance. So why is that country important internationally? And also maybe a question about changing industrial structure. So knowing that in pretty much all 3 of those countries, or any country like it, in the past many people would work in the primary sector, in farming, but now we've got a bit more of an even split, and you've got quite a lot of people working in the secondary sector, manufacturing, and also services, now the country is developed. And finally, resource management. Now, because the pre-release booklet this year is focusing on energy, and actually last year and quite a lot recently, question 3, resource management, has looked at food. I think it's a little bit more likely there could be a question focused more on water in the UK for that first bit of resource management. One of the things that's not been asked a lot is about pollution causes and also management. So you need to know a little bit about causes of water pollution, so maybe fertilizers from farming, chemicals from industry, that sort of thing, and then knowing how it's managed. So things like legislation or laws and water treatment facilities and that sort of thing. Now, in the optional units, it's quite hard to decide. I mean, the case studies haven't come up a lot recently, but there's a couple of other areas that haven't come up for even longer. And those 2 are impacts of energy or food or water insecurity. So what are the impacts of them? And also maybe a question about sustainable technology. So maybe how homes, workplaces, businesses are being made more energy efficient, or how water is saved, or maybe something about sustainable food supplies. So I think something about impacts of insecurity, or maybe sustainable technology for that last bit. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comments if you want to see a similar video like this one for paper 3.